Hello guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Okay. Let me get to some stuff. So here's the deal. This is gonna be a different one. Could be I don't know how else to say it. It's gonna be unlike any of the other podcasts we've had. Just for the not the lack, but the amount of information that's in it is gonna be a lot. So just be prepared for that. But before we get into all that, how y'all doing? Y'all doing good? Hope so. So I wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about this thing I saw. Let me pull it up real fast. Of course, I'm trying to pull stuff up and talk at the same time. So, I'll get out of there. Okay, where was it? Okay, so I saw this thing the other day. The buyer of the world's largest whiskey bottle was revealed. Now, this is not like just one of those bottles. It's like like a fake bottle. This is the actual bottle. So let me just read to you. This comes from Masters of Malt. Okay. The anonymous buyer, and you guys know I can't read, so just bear with me. And anyway, the anonymous buyer of the world's largest whiskey bottle. He hold on, I'm turning up my mic a little bit. I don't want y'all bitching at me that you can't hear it. The world's largest whiskey bottle has been revealed. I can't say his name right, and I'm going to screw it up, so just understand that. Vet Nyng Ding Toi. I guess. I'm going to spell it. How about that? That'll probably work better. VIET. Okay. NGUYEN. Right? DINHTUAN. I don't know how to say it, and I'm sorry if I butchered it. I know I did. He added the 5-foot 11-inch tall bottle known as the Intrepid to his already impressive whiskey and cognac collection, which is currently worth an estimated, listen to this, 158.3 million pounds, which I don't know what that translates over to in dollars. This bottle contained a staggering 311 liters, so 3 liters in a gallon, so it's 30 gallons, right? Anyway, doesn't matter. Of 32-year-old Macallan single malt Scotch. Yeah. The project was conceived by Daniel Monk of Cask World and Roswin Holding Pictured. Actually, there was a picture with it. Mr. Vet above. Oh, let me get to the next page. Who named the Intrepid in honor of the drive to achieve 11 of the world's most pioneered explorers, like Sir Ranulph Fiennes, Robin Knox Johnson. I don't know these. Anyway, some explorers. They're featured on the bottle's label. As a seasoned investor in rare spirits, wouldn't that be a cool job? Hey, my job is just to buy really old whiskey. You know what I mean? That's so stupid. Anyway, Mr. Vet spent 3 decades building his collection, which already includes the world's largest bottle of cognac, the world's oldest bottle of whiskey, believed to be almost 150 years. God dang it. Every time I click on it. 150 years old. And the world's only complete Macallan Fine and Rare series, which is, pretty expensive in itself. He says he was enticed to acquire the Intrepid for 3 main reasons. The fact is that the world's biggest bottle contains Macallan, and because I was inspired to have a record-breaking achievement with the 11 explorers depicted on it. We don't believe he currently has any plans to try and snorkel, they're trying to be funny, snorkel in the 311 liters of whiskey. Which is definitely not what we would do. No, we don't even know where you would get such an idea. I don't know what they're talking about, but this freaking bottle, like there's a picture right below. and it's taller than the dude. And it has like all the explorers on the side of the bottle. How do you even pick a bottle that's that big? 311 liters. That's a lot. That's a lot, dude. You know. So that's really that just blows my freaking mind. Really, it does. Because that's, oh my God, I can't even tell you what you would do for one with that much whiskey. You know, and he has other bottles that are just that big or large or old and rare. It's like there's a turning point in your collection to where you're like, what am I doing now? I've got the oldest bottle of whiskey in existence that he knows of, right? 150-year-old whatever whiskey. Do you drink it? I mean, eventually, like, you need to drink the whiskey, right? Anyway, I just thought that was really, really fun and strange and kind of cool. So I hope y'all like that. All right, so we're going to get into the topic. I'm drinking coffee this morning. If y'all don't know, because you're not in my house, right? You don't know. Today is October 14th, 2023. I'm dating it so that in the future, when people listen, they know kind of where we're at. So today is the solar eclipse that everybody's bugging out about, and then in April, I think, is the big one. It's going to basically come right over the top of my house, which is going to be kind of cool. So around lunchtime, me and the kids will go out with our glasses on, of course. I'm not trying to burn my retinas, supposedly. We can talk about that on a different show. So we're doing that, but I'm recording this in the morning before it's actually going to be put out, because I want you guys to have the most information that I have about this particular topic. Okay, because this topic to me is once you get into it, you'll know it's pretty damn important. Okay, so where do we start? Man, so much has happened. So much has happened since we last talked. We were talking about yeast the last time, right? And then we were talking to Kyle. That's cool. So let's go to the Kyle route. So the Bastards Ball was last weekend. The whatever the hell that was. I don't know, the 7th. And I was aimed to work at the tables or help in the vault or something like that. But that's one of your duties as a sommelier. You go and you volunteer, help people when they do tours and stuff like that. You help with all of that. Cool. That didn't happen. Let's go back a little bit. Okay. Shit. I guess I just need to come out and say it, because it's gonna be a long show if we don't talk about it up front. We're 9 minutes in, a little over. So you guys remember? Months ago, I was not feeling well, feeling real sick, feeling really down, and I said, "Man, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what the hell's going on," And I was really getting frustrated with it, because I would take antibiotics, I would take steroids, I would take, do all these holistic practices. I'd hang on my toenails, and I was, my wife was spraying all this weird crap in my mouth, stuff like that. So here's the issue. I'm going to turn the music down just a little bit more. Not that I don't want music, because we need a little icebreaker. So come to find out, I don't know how I found it. I just found it one day. I had an enlarged testicle, and this is not a joke. This is not me playing around. This is not any of that. This is 100% legit. I just want y'all to understand that. So, had an enlarged testicle. So I was like, oh, okay, that's not great. So let's go to the doctor and look at that. So, man, I don't even know how to say it. it fast tracked so fast that like it's kind of a blur. So I don't know when that was. Like, so okay, the beginning of September, I had my birthday. Everything was cool. That was fine. And then like 2 weeks later, I end up going to the doctor because my testicles enlarged. And he's like, "Oh, okay, well, we need to let you go see the urologist." Okay. So I go see the urologist. The urologist says, "Oh, we need to get that guy out right now." And I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, we need to get that guy out." "No, he's just infected, right? He's just angry." No, he's a tumor. He's a tumor. And I'm like, what is that? Yeah, how do you like that? I got these a couple little little stupid things. Anyway, it's really hard to put those on my little mixer. I don't know. It's really hard to do. Anyway, I'm stupid. I don't know how to do stuff like that, but I was able to put 2, I think. So anyway, long story short, I'm trying to make this somewhat humorous because it's very not humorous. So just understand that. So where were we? I go to the urologist, and so this is not whiskey related at all. It's only whiskey related because it's meat, and it does. I wouldn't say ending anyway. We're getting there. Oh God, I just hate that I'm telling you guys this, but I want to. I want to tell you guys all of this because I've been a little off, and there might be some days I'm a little off in the future. So we're talking about it because this is real life. This is real life stuff that happens, and I think people need to know about it. Whiskey related, not really, but it's life related, and life is whiskey related, or whiskey is life related. So, and so if you're listening to this and you want to have a whiskey, go ahead. And if I do get a little emotional, it's totally cool. I don't know why I'm trying to right now. We haven't even gotten into the meat and taters of it. But anyway, okay. So urologist, he's like, "Bro, here's the deal. We need to get that guy out." Excuse me, there's going to be some explicit things and some things that aren't really for kids. I mean, not like nasty or anything, but like adult themed. So just understand that. So if your kids are around and they don't want to hear me talking about nuts and stuff, then maybe this isn't the episode for them. I want kids to listen, and I enjoy it. My son loves listening and stuff like that. So just this one could get a little graphic. I'm trying not to, but we're gonna go there because I think everybody, like I said, I think everybody needs to know. Okay, so that was whatever the next week, and then he goes, "We need to do a surgery to remove the testicle and get it out of there." And I said, "Oh, okay." So we did blood work before. It was a blood panel that kind of basically told us what our levels were. There's a certain marker for, I'm going to say this, and this is going to be going throughout the thing, for cancer. Yeah, I know. That's when people are like, "Oh, shit." Yeah, exactly. He automatically knew. That obviously, if you're a doctor, you've seen things, you know the markers and what to look at. And when your testicle is the size of a little smaller than a hockey puck, right? That's an alarming thing that happens. So we had scheduled the what do they call it? Orchidectomy. It's called an orchidectomy. I only know that because you think of the orca, the whale, the killer whale that kills everybody. Yeah. It's an orchidectomy. So basically they make an incision in your it's in your pubic area, right? Like up higher, like kind of like if you've ever seen somebody who has a C-section, right? C-section scars, like right in that pubic area, but this is more over, it's to the right because that's where it was. So it was over in the right, and so they made an incision in there. So, little background on me: I've never had any sort of surgeries or anything like that. Been pretty healthy. I mean, I've had lung issues, stuff like that, but never really had anything like this. So I was a little freaked out, but at the same time, I wanted to get it out of there. And we still didn't know 100% if it was cancerous or not. We just knew that it was a large tumor. So I was like, okay, crap. So obviously that's when, and I'm going to talk a lot about this, and this is no offense to people who do not believe in certain aspects of religious effects, but this is what happened. When you go through something, even just like a testicle removal as a man, it puts you in a different state. You get a lot closer to your maker. Let's just say that. And you start thinking a lot more, and you start praying, or whatever, a lot more. And I've always been a very strong Christian person. I feel, and maybe not. That's between me and him. That's not between you and I. Anyway, but so I just was spending a lot of time in that, and like trying to go through that and work through it as, I'm not one of these chauvinistic males that is like, oh, my balls, blah, 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 that's what makes you a man. That's not how I am. I am a man biologically, but I don't promote it. I don't like flaunt my masculinity, I guess. I don't know how to say it the right way. And so like, even for me, it hit in a way to where it's like, okay, I have to deal with the fact that I'm losing a part of my manhood, I guess you could say, which is kind of weird to say it like that. But like, it still makes you're still a man, obviously. You still have those chromosomes that make you that person. And I know this is going to get into some weeds there, and I'm not trying to offend anybody who is having trouble with their sexuality or anything like that. That's not where I'm going. For me personally. So I was like, okay, this is fine. This will be fine. Okay, cool. Let's do it. So we have the orchiectomy, and they removed everything up into my stomach, almost to where it ties on to the rest of my body. There's a little piece left over, non-cancerous. It was just the tube for blood flow and stuff like that. Okay. Cool. They removed that, and it was about a 2-hour surgery. Not a big deal. Had it done locally here at the hospital, under general anesthesia, which was fine. Woke up, walked out of the room, and did the thing. Not a big deal. Okay, so it hurt the first day, right? Because it always hurts. They had me on hydrocodone 5s, so like not even a huge dose of hydrocodone, just something kind of anti-inflammatory, I guess, to keep the swelling down and stuff. So okay, so that was September 28th is when that happened, right? So it's been a minute, right? It's been a minute. So we're working through that, and I'm trying to see how I feel and how I feel about the whole thing and life after that. So we still, at this point, didn't know if it was cancerous or not, or what the whole thing was. We just knew that it was removed, and we were waiting on pathology, which basically they take the testicle and they cut it apart and see the cancerous or not. So that was a Thursday. The 28th was a Thursday. So Friday, Saturday, we're okay. It sucks. Recovery sucks. You can barely walk. It's hard to eat. Luckily we have great friends and family that brought food and, helped us and stuff like that. And so I knew I wasn't going to work for approximately 2 weeks. So I don't know if y'all remember, I had talked about us going to Santa Fe, New Mexico, for our kids have like what they call a fall break. It's basically a spring break, but a fall. And so we were going to go to Santa Fe because it's really nice. It's been over 100 degrees here, and we wanted to have some cooler weather. And we had already, we're not rich at all. So when we do these trips, it's kind of like a treat for everybody. And so we got a nice B&B. We were going to drive up there, have a really, really nice time. We'll get into that. So, we had that to look forward. I had a week to recover, get my stamina back up to where I could walk around, and they said you should be fine. It's a pretty basic procedure. You're gonna have some bruising and stuff like that. All right, cool. So Friday, Saturday, they were okay. They sucked. I mean, obviously walking around and trying to, they had me in some weird gauze and stuff like that. So like it was hard to even just go to the bathroom. It was kind of hard to do. So anyway, that's TMI. I'm sorry. But so Sunday, I noticed that my left leg, so I had the right orchiectomy, right? My left leg started hurting a little bit. And I was like, man, like kind of like a Charlie horse. When you get a Charlie horse and it's just like, man, like you've been working outside a lot and like you're a little starved for some nutrients or whatever. And it wasn't horrible. All right, cool. Well, Sunday night, it got so bad to where like I was almost in tears. And I'm like, that's not good, right? So, my wife's freaking out because she's like, you just had surgery. What is this? Maybe they hit a vein. Maybe they, whatever. You never know. So we go to the ER. Man, it sucks, We go to the ER, and the ER's like, oh, bro, you have a blood clot from your surgery. And I'm like, excuse me? And they're like, yeah, you have a blood clot. So they did a sonogram, and they found a blood clot. And they're like, it's normal from surgery. Not a big deal. It's in your leg. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you on Eliquis, which is a blood thinner. And I'm like, great. What does that mean? Because I'm trying to be and I'm not granola wokester. I'm not that. But like I'm trying to be very natural in all my approaches. Like I do not take any sort of pharmaceutical grade pills or anything. I try not to. Just because I feel like, and this is me talking, this is not medical advice, I am not a medical doctor, okay, but I feel like the pharmaceuticals, they help you in a certain way, but then they hinder you in others. So take that for what it is. So I was like, crap, I don't want to take those, but then again, my leg freaking hurts, like bad. Can't hardly walk on it, right? So I'm like, okay. So I take, this is like 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. It might have been midnight. Who knows? And so we take the pills and they send us home. We're like, okay. So Sunday night was fine. I think, and I'm not trying to be a druggie or whatever, but I think I took a pain pill, took a hydro and went to bed. Okay, cool. So the next day I woke up and it was hurting. It's hurting pretty bad. And I was like, man, that sucks, man. I can barely walk on it. So I'm like, okay, so what do I do? So I'm just dealing with it. I'm trying to walk it out. Like we have a little circle driveway in the front of our house. It's a granite gravel. So my wife's out there helping me. Luckily she was there. She didn't have to work or anything, but like she's helping me and we're walking around the circle and I'm like, man, maybe it's feeling better. I don't know. So we're walking, I'm putting heat on it, I'm putting ice on it, I'm trying to get it to, trying to get it to go away. Little did I know, this story unfolds pretty fast, so just get ready. Yeah, you thought that was the story? That's not the story. Look at us, we're at like 24 already. Yeah, 20. It's a long road. This isn't going to be super long podcast, but it'll be enough to where you guys can kind of understand where I'm at. Then we'll have a toast at the end. How about that? Anyway, so that was Sunday. Monday night. So Monday night, yeah. We had, it was not a great day. Monday was not a great day. I was in a lot of pain. And I was like, crap, that sucks, man. I don't want this to be a couple weeks or whatever of this, because this sucks. Well, we go to bed, and my wife had some pillows propped like underneath my legs to kind of like elevate my leg. And I was like, okay, it'll be fine. I woke up in the morning. This would have been the Tuesday morning. I can't tell you what day. The second or third. Anyway, Tuesday morning, early, like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I couldn't breathe. I literally thought I was drowning in a pool of water. And I started freaking out. I can't even tell you how bad I was freaking out. And like, I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe, my arm was hurting severely, my left arm, my left lungs felt like they were full of water. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, that's how I was talking. Like, it was so scary. And I'm like, what the hell? And so my wife wakes up, obviously, because she hears me like freaking out. And I was going to get up to go to the restroom. I could not walk. I mean, I could, but like it was so labored and I could not breathe and I was not normal. Let's say that. And she said, and this is no offense to her, I love you, babe, with all my heart. You have saved me. She's like, you're having a panic attack and you need to calm down. Like your chest is riling because you're freaking out about your leg and it's fine. I said, okay. And I mean, I was like gasping for air. Like my breaths were so short. They were like, you know, like when you take a full deep breath and you're like, oh yeah, that feels good. My full deep breath was like 1/16 that. It was like a, you know, and I should have known. Sorry. So I was like, okay, it's fine. It's totally fine. So after freaking out a little bit and her calming me down, I go back to bed. Not for long. Then wake up the Tuesday, you know, to actually wake up. And I'm not good. Not good. And about 10:30, I'm like, I think I need to go see my doctor. I think I need to see him. This is not normal. Like, this isn't a panic attack. And if it is a panic attack, I need to be on some medication for it or something because this is freaking me the freak out. You know what I mean? See how I didn't say it right there? So, I was like, okay. So they made an appointment and they said, oh, the earliest we can see you is 3. And I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll make it work. So, I'm sitting in, I got a new recliner. Not new to me recliner. Thank you, Deb. And the neighbors came and moved it over for me, and it reclines. It's electric. It's really cool. It's really comfy. And I'm appreciative for that because with my leg being the way it was, it needs to be elevated. And I can't just sit in my whiskey chair because that whiskey chair is hard as hell. I mean, it feels good like when you're normal, when you're, you know, not having pain all over. And it feels good, but it was not the right one for me. So I was just sitting in my chair until then. And then I was like, I don't know, man. This is like bad. Like we need to go. Like, is there any way we can get there sooner? So my wife calls and they're like, yeah, come right now. All right. This is where we're getting into the weeds. The fast track. I got to have a drink of coffee real fast. Hold on. So we go to the primary clinic or whatever, where the doctor's at. It's right around lunchtime, something like that, on Tuesday, the 3rd, I think it was, 2nd, 3rd. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. So we go, and I see the doctor, and I'm like, Doc, I'm bad. I need some medication or something for this. And he goes, okay, so here's what we need to do. You need to go to the hospital. And I said, what? Yes, you need to go to the hospital and get a CT scan. And I'm like, oh, okay, why? You need to go to the hospital right now. Right now. Get up, go to the hospital. I am calling them right now. You need to go get a CT scan right now. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I walk my ass to the car. I walk my ass from the car into the hospital, which luckily is like right down the road from the clinic, so it's not like it's on the other side of town. So I do that, and they're like, we're going to get you set up with an IV, and we're going to do a CT scan, which I'm so against CT scans because the contrast that they put in them has a lot of iodine in it. And the iodine affects your kidneys. Anyway, I'm not trying to be that person, but at the same time, like, it's a lot of very toxic stuff they put in your body. Just saying. But at this point, I was like, oh, okay, that's what the doc wants to do, right? So the doc, we do that. I do the CT scan, which was really weird. I've obviously never done a CT scan or anything. So it's like a little tube that you're sitting on a table, and this little tube goes over the top of your body, kind of like in, you see all those sci-fi movies where they're doing that stuff, and they're doing like brainwave, stuff. And so you're like, all right, it's kind of cool, but at the same time, this sucks because I'm in a lot of pain, right? So I'm like, okay. And I couldn't breathe. I still couldn't breathe. I was like gasping for air, and I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? And so they said, okay, go sit in the waiting room after the CT scan. They put the dye or whatever in my blood, and they did the scan, and then they said, okay, go wait over here. So I waited over there, and by that time, my father-in-law and mother-in-law were there. And I was like, hey, what are y'all doing here? And they're like, oh, we're just hanging out. They didn't want to tell me, right? You can kind of see where this is going, right? So we do that, and then they're like, okay. The nurse comes up there, and she's like, okay, I need y'all to come over here to a room. And oh, okay, we're gonna talk about this. And she goes, do you need a wheelchair? I said, no. Why would I need a wheelchair? I mean, I can walk, not walk good, but I can walk. So I walk, and then we're walking, and I'm like, where are we walking? Why are we going to the ER? That's weird. What the hell are we doing? So we go to the ER, and I get in the room. Next thing you know, there's chaos. There's about 6 people in there, and they're like, hey, we need to get him on a heparin drip. And I'm like, what's heparin? And they're like, oh, heparin is a blood thinner. And I said, well, I'm already on blood thinners. And they said, no, this is a real blood thinner. This thing will thin your blood in 4 hours. And we're like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Do I have to stay for 4 hours? And they're like, oh, you, and then they walk out. I'm like, whatever. So they're like hooking me up to all these cuffs and these machines and this thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is fun. And then they come take an x-ray. And I'm like, oh, I don't understand what's going on. My wife just kind of sitting there. Well, then I don't know what to call her. My Carla. She's a family friend, been a family friend forever. She's basically my stepmom or whatever you want to call her. Love her to death. She's a great person. She came in, and she's a respiratory therapist at the hospital. And she's like, okay, here's the deal. You need to have a treatment. And I said, okay, what's that? Because I'm still like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And they're like, okay, well, you have an issue with your lungs. I said, yeah, I can't breathe at all. And I'm like, I'm barely talking at this point. Like, it's not like I'm talking to you guys right now. I can barely talk. And cracking jokes with people and being stupid, trying to liven the air because I don't like hospitals. Obviously, nobody does, but like, so then all of a sudden, I hear somebody come in and say, the helicopter will be here in 20 minutes. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, the helicopter. At this point, my wife had left. She asked the nurse and they said, oh, you're going to San Antonio, which is the closest big city to me. You're going to San Antonio, to get observed over there. And we're like, oh, okay. Is it like, how long are we going to be there? And they said, we don't know. She goes, do I need to go get a bag? And they're like, yeah, go get a bag. And so my wife runs home real fast to get a bag. And she comes back. And by then, like, the air flight guys are there. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I still don't understand really what's going on because they're not really saying anything. And so finally, the doctor comes in, not the nurse, and he's like, okay, we are going to air flight you to San Antonio, because you need to be on treatment right now. And I said, what does that mean? They said, we can't serve you at this hospital. This is above our pay grade, basically. And I'm like, oh, okay, so is that like bad? He goes, it's not great. And I said, oh, okay. And so of course I'm like, I still don't really fully understand what that means, right? So I'm like, okay. So they put me on a gurney, they load me into the helicopter, and I get to take the helicopter ride 20 minutes. You know, it wasn't too much. Couldn't lift my head because I was strapped to a table, so it wasn't like the best ride. And my feet were in the pilot's face. Kind of weird. So this whole time I'm not freaking out because I'm like, just for observation. But I'm thinking in the back of my head, this is the logical part of me thinking, they don't do that just for normal people. Air flight is not for, oh, you have a little cold. Yeah, no, it's not for that. This is life-threatening. You know, this is life-threatening. And I'm like, I finally kind of get that once we land, I guess. And I'm like, oh, shit, you know, and I'm by myself. Of course, my wife, and nobody's there. It's just the medical people from the helicopter. And so I'm like, am I going to be all right? And they said, yeah, you will. And I said, I don't really believe you. And he goes, good, you shouldn't believe me. I'm not a doctor. And I'm like, great. That's freaking awesome. So, they're wheeling me through the hospital, 7th floor, whatever. It's a big hospital, right? So I end up in what I later find out. Well, let me back up. So I end up going into this hallway, this room, and I want to say a big room. It's a big room for a hotel, for a hospital room, right? They put me in this bed, and as soon as they drop me off in this bed, there is literally 6 people on me. And they're doing this, they're doing that, they're blah, 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 they're injecting me with this, I don't even know what they're doing. I still don't have answers, right, at this point. So I'm like, okay. So then all of a sudden my mother-in-law shows up, my other mother-in-law shows up, and she's like, how are you? And I said, I'm kind of freaking out because I don't think this is normal procedure. And she goes, baby, it's not normal procedure. This is nothing normal about this. So come to find out, they didn't let me or my wife know, which in retrospect, I totally understand why. But what had happened was that Monday night, when I was in so much pain, I actually had what they call a pulmonary embolism, which is basically a huge blood clot in the bloodway to your lungs. So it's cutting off the circulation of blood to your lungs, therefore making your lungs not work like they should, and therefore making your heart overactive. Because think about trying to do something with a monkey on your back, right? It's hard to do. It's hard to bend. It's hard to stoop. It's hard to walk sometimes, and the monkey gets heavier and heavier. And evidently, this is, like I said, not medical advice. I'm not a doctor, but from what they told me after, because I asked, what they told me after was your blood goes through your heart, from one way to the other. Well, the part that feeds your lungs is on the lower, I'm a plumber, right? So I'm using pressure and stuff like that because that's how I look at things, is on the lower pressure side, right? So, how do I put it? So like it doesn't have to work as hard to get blood to the lungs because it's right there, right? So it just kind of goes and gives it blood. But when it's clotted, it's like putting your finger on the end of a garden hose. So that part of the heart was having to work a lot harder than it's normally used to. It's on the low pressure side, so it has a restriction in it, which is making it work harder and beat irregularly, and that's why I couldn't breathe and all of these things. And I'm like, oh, okay, what do I do? I don't do anything, obviously. There's nothing I can do. And so at this point, they have me in the hospital bed. Little did I know it was the respiratory ICU. Yeah, I know. I know what you're thinking. Yeah, it's only after the fact when it becomes scary. All right? So they come in there and they're like, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Here's what's going to happen. You need to have an operation to remove these blood clots, or you're not going to be able to make it. I said, what do you mean, make it? And they said, survive. And I'm like, what? Yeah, you will not survive. We need to do an emergency operation to remove these blood clots. There's 2 different ones that we do, both highly successful. We need to do this ASAP. And the guy comes in with respiratory or pulmonary, whatever you want to call it. It's both. It's kind of weird. It's like on that fine line of both. And he's like, okay, we have this thing. We're doing a trial study. If you'd like to do it, it's fine. We just have to ask some questions and do some follow-ups after. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't care. I just need it done, whatever needs to be done. He's like, okay, well, we have you scheduled for first thing in the morning. So all you have to do is survive the night. And he didn't say that, but that's basically what they were saying. If you can survive the night, we're going to do it in the morning. And I'm like, okay. So at this point, I'm in a gown, buck naked, laying in a bed with 3 IVs, one with fluids, one with the heparin drip. And what they were really trying to do was check my blood pressure to make sure my blood pressure didn't spike or drop. They wanted it to be pretty normal. My O2, when I went in there, my O2 was like at 85. It's not good. No, it's not good. It's supposed to be upper 90s. I just couldn't breathe, obviously. So the next morning comes along. They actually let my wife stay in the ICU, which they don't do. It was a horrible night. Didn't get any sleep. You know how that goes. And so the next morning, somebody comes in, and she's got a bunch of paperwork, and she's like, this is the part that gets a little off kilter for the story, but I feel like it's necessary because this is real life, and this is how I feel. Now, this is nothing against hospitals. This is nothing against what these people are trying to do. This is just my feelings, okay? So don't take this to heart, and don't think of me in a different way because of this. You will understand once I say my part. Okay, so they come in, and they're like, we're here with the study, and we just had some questions to ask you before we do the procedure. And I said, okay, let's do it. And I could barely talk, at this point. And they're like, okay, blah, blah, blah. 1 of 2 procedures will be done. You'll be in a case study. The only thing is we need you to sign permission so that basically we put the information into a computer. A computer, and it picks which surgery you have. It picks for you. And I said, it picks? Yeah, it uses, thinking, like real life thinking, and analytics and stuff like that, and it picks the right one for you. I said, so doctor doesn't have anything to do with it? And they're like, no, it's all AI generated. And I said, I don't feel comfortable with that. And they're like, oh, really? Well, let me call the doctor. And I call the doctor, and the doctor's like, oh, yeah, we talked about it yesterday over the phone with her. And I'm like, I really don't feel comfortable with that. And they're like, okay, well, let me get the doctor over here. Well, the doctor comes back, and he's like, here's the deal. We talked about this yesterday, and your you're going to be fine. We're going to do it. We just have to do this thing. And my wife at this point was talking for me because I couldn't talk. And she goes, we really don't find this to be the best. We want somebody who's human, you know, that has a soul and that has compassion and understanding for each person to step in and say, this is the type of operation or procedure that he needs to have for his particular case. Right. At this point, they've done the CT scan, they've done sonogram, they've done all of these things. And the guy got freaking rude and angry with us because we didn't feel comfortable with it. And she's like, we just don't feel comfortable with computer analytics. Not that computers aren't great, but I don't want that. And this is not me trying to be the hard ass or anything like that. I was done with the guy. And I got really upset in the bed, like, and I was on oxygen and all kinds of stuff. I pulled the oxygen off and I said, I will not have a computer decide by fate. Yeah. Sorry. And I was like, I can't do that. I need somebody real to do this, you know, not a computer, not something that, you know, I've seen way too many scary movies where the computers take over. Next thing you know, I'm not trying to be Terminator or something, you know. Anyway, so he got pissed off and left. And I was like, so what does that mean? Then the nurse comes back in and they said, oh, just wanted to let you know they moved your appointment to 4 p.m. And I was like, what? At this point, I was exhausted. I wasn't giving up. Obviously, I wasn't giving up. But I was exhausted. And I was like, what the hell? They did that on purpose just because I didn't do that stupid thing. And they're like, and so my wife was livid. Obviously, she was angry. She's like, this man is dying right here. He is dying. And you guys, just because we don't do a freaking case study, and then all of a sudden, these people start coming in, and the nurse goes, let me go check. And the nurses were amazing. I'm gonna give them props. The nurses over there, they were amazing. And she did her thing, and then next thing you know, so it's like 9 in the morning, something like that. The next thing you know, they're prepping me. And I'm like, what's going on? I thought it was at 4. And they said, no, you're going back. So I ended up going back at like 10:30. So it was all a fear tactic. It was all just to get me upset. It was all just to piss me off. And then the doctor who came in, he's like, this is what we're going to do. I need to do what they call an A-line, which is kind of like a PICC line, but it's an A-line in your wrist. I need to do one of those, and then we will get you back into surgery. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'd already been poked and prodded so much at this point, I was kind of like, whatever, you know, let's just go. So he did the A-line, which sucked. It sucked bad because it's in like the corner of your wrist, and you can't hardly move your wrist. Anyway, so they did the A-line. They wheeled me out, and of course they don't tell you the survival rate or anything of any of these operations or procedures. So what they did is called a thrombectomy. So a thrombectomy means a catheter, not a catheter like you would use to wee out of. This is a catheter as big as your thumb. Yeah, look at the width of your thumb. That's how big the catheter was. It was approximately 5/8 of an inch in diameter, and they put it right in the corner of your groin, where your leg meets your groin, right? Well, guess where they put it? On the right side, right next to my incision, like almost on top of my incision from my orchiectomy. Which I'm like, really? That place is already really angry. You want to go messing around there again? They did. And so basically they just stabbed like stabbing a straw through a plastic soda top. That's what they did. And they went in there, and this is the dumb part of me, but they went in there with a little shop vac, and they shop vacked all those blood clots out. Not all of them, obviously, as much as they could. The one thing that kind of scared me with the whole thing was they put me on fentanyl during the procedure. They put me on fentanyl, which I was awake throughout the whole procedure. Very strange, very weird. Fentanyl is a very strange drug. Obviously, this is lab-grade fentanyl. It's not stuff that people have been, doing in their bathtub or whatever, but this, it was so strange. It was like you're so drunk, but like totally lucid at the same time. I didn't care what they were doing, but like you could see a screen, and it was like you could see it was your lungs, and it looked like little like phalanges going in there and going, and I could feel it like in my chest, obviously. Weirdest shit you've ever felt in your life. And then you're like, am I feeling that? Like, because you're high, right? So I'm like, am I feeling that? Is that real? What is going on? Well, luckily it was only a small dose of fentanyl, so I don't know if I need to put that on paperwork now. Anyway, but so got that done. Went back to the room. They put like a plug in the opening of the hole, the puncture hole. They put a plug in it. I went back to the room, still in ICU, and I just almost instantly could breathe better, almost instantly. And then within like an hour, I was not deep breathing, but I was breathing pretty deep, and my blood pressure went normal. My O2 went to like 92, 93, which was great. It was at 80 something, so that's great. And then it eventually just got better. That first night in the ICU, well, it wasn't hard, but like it was like you're still kind of drugged from everything, and it was a lot of pain, and it was really weird. I was by myself too, so I spent 4 days in the ICU in total. Which I then found out was the respiratory ICU. So all those people had the same stuff going on. Obviously, some were a lot older, some were, whatever. But, so then the next day, my wife, she was a trooper, man. She was there the whole time. She basically told my father-in-law, you own my kids now until we get it back, which is kind of funny. So the kids came up there, but like, you're not allowed to have people in there, and they don't have waiting rooms at the hospital anymore. I think that was a COVID protocol. They don't have waiting rooms at the hospital, so they were literally just sitting around in the hallways of places, just waiting on a phone call, which, like you're hoping it's a good phone call, not a bad phone call. So I say all that to say, so then we went through all that and started recovery. I was still on heparin for a while, because they said we can't do anything with your leg right now. Your leg is a deep vein thrombosis, and it will heal, or the clot will go away with the blood thinners. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we're sitting there, and I'm like watching my breathing, watching my heart rate, making sure that everything's good. They had me on morphine for pain, and I think the second day I said, I don't want morphine no more. And they're like, why? And I said, I need to get out of here. I need to go see my babies at my house. And they're like, oh, okay. But if you get into pain, and I said, if I get in pain, believe me, I'll let you know. I said, I just want some Tylenol. Can I just have Tylenol? I said, yeah, you can have Tylenol. I said, just some Tylenol to knock the edge off the pain. And they're like, okay. So they gave me some Tylenol, and so then I'm sitting in the room and trying to get better, trying to heal up to where I can get up and walk again, because I've been sitting there for a minute. Well, then it gets the day before we left, it got a little dark, and this is where it gets a little spiritual. So if you don't want to hear this part, that's fine. You can fast forward. Obviously, when you go through something like this, you're closer to God or your maker or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to say God because that's what I believe. And so I knew it was by the grace of God that I was even there, So I later learned that there was a 23% survival rate from what had happened to me and the severity of what had happened to me. They had pictures of the blood clots, and it was totally congested. There was no flow of blood anywhere. So anyway, miracle in itself. That's where I praise the medical enhancements that we've had. That's where I praise it. It's the whole fact that they want to use AI generated everything to control my life, where I have a little bit of an issue or a lot of bit of an issue, and that's just me. That's just me. If that's what you want to do and you want to be a part of that, that's up to you. But for me, that was not what I wanted. Okay, so you know what? I'm almost at an hour. I might stop it and let it go again because I don't want to run over and get into this story. So you won't even know. It doesn't matter. So when they were in there doing that, thrown back to me, it was kind of like this. Yeah, that's my other little sound. I don't know, it's stupid. It takes like 2 or 3 seconds for it to come back. Anyway, so the second to the last day when I was there, I was sitting in there and like I said, we're spiritual people and we're getting more and more spiritual in just life, you know what I mean? Like, we're trying to trust in God more and not trust in ourselves as much and stuff like that. So my wife was playing hymns, old hymns and stuff like that, and because I still couldn't really move, and I could breathe a lot better, but I was still in a lot of like lethargia, is that a word? Anyway, I was in a lot of that. And so, all of a sudden, it just got super dark. Not dark like in cloud-wise, like dark as in like the mood got super dark. And then all of a sudden, I looked out the window of the ICU. Not the window outside, but the window into the room. And they had lowered all the lights. And I'm like, what's that? So, my wife gets up and goes and looks. And evidently somebody was pulled off of a respirator or something like that, the breathing machine, and was doing their last breaths. Yeah. Like right next to me. Yeah. And then, not 45 minutes later, somebody else right next to me passed away as well. So, I was like, holy shit. Oh my God. Like, I am right next to death's door being in this place. And so it put me in a bad place because I was like, oh crap. I could be dying. I could be this. This could be happening. Blah, 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 blah. Well, and since the hospital or that floor or that place was having to deal with 2 of those at the same time, my nurse was not really in the room. I was stable. Everything was fine. It was a lot, and it was dark, and it was heavy, and I was like, I do not want to be in this place. This place is not for me, right? I can feel not evil. It's not evil. I can feel the heaviness of this place, and it is hurting me, right? It is literally changing the way I think right now. I started getting super negative. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm not going to be the same person. I'm not going to be able to do the things. And so it was bad. It was bad. And then it was like 10 o'clock at night, and my wife had to leave because she couldn't stay. And I had to deal with that for the rest of the night. On no medication, of course, because I'm a dummy and took myself off the medication. Not that I say you should use medication to numb yourself. That's not what I'm saying. But it sure as hell would have helped. So I dealt with that, and that was scary and stupid and not what I wanted. But that next morning, I had a nurse who was very lively. She was very great. She was like Russian or Ukrainian or something like that. And she was just, her talking was making me, kind of giggle, because she's like, oh, I need to get you up and we to go over here. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to do accents to make fun of people. I'm doing accents to be funny. And it was really cool. She was a great asset. And so then I said, when am I getting out of here? When am I going to, not the ICU room? And they say, well, we don't have a room available. You're supposed to be in one, but we don't have a room available. I'm like, okay, cool. So that was 5 o'clock in the morning. My wife got there at 7:30, and by 7:30 they had already found a room, and they were moving me out of ICU. And I was like, yes, let's do it. And she goes, here's the catch. Here's the catch, brother. It's a dual share room. So you're gonna be in there with you're gonna have somebody else in the room, which privacy goes out the door, stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what? I need to get out of here, because this is not a good place for me. This place it was healing at first, and now it's not. Now this is not healing me. So we need to get out of here. So luckily, within an hour or so, they were moving me, and I moved into the lower wing, non-ICU, but still heavy watch, which was cool. They put some socks on me, that I was a fall risk, obviously, because I hadn't really walked in 4 days, didn't really use the restroom, didn't really drink any water. I was pretty much doing the survival mode. So they put me in the room, and I said, oh, no, this is not what I want. It was sad. It was very sad. And I'm not trying to say anything about the medical system or the hospital, but it looked to me more like a nursing home. And I was like, no, we're not doing this. I'm getting out of here today. And my wife goes, I would love that. And I said, it's happening. I said, I don't know how, but it's happening. So there was a chair right next to the little bed. And I said, I'm not even getting in the bed. I'm sitting in the chair. She said, if you can do it. I said, no, it's not if. I'm going to do it. Then this inspirational music comes in the back, right? Not trying to be inspirational, not trying to be a hard ass either. I'm not like, oh, I'm not doing that. No. I had had enough. It had healed me enough, and now I needed to go home. Home is the best healing thing you can do. Obviously, I don't want to go home too early, because too early means there could be potential issues that go along with that. So, one other thing that I was so scared for. Remember when I said they did the thrombectomy? Yeah, I know, it's all these big words. The procedure at the hospital. They had put a plug in my puncture wound. It's not even an incision, it's more of a puncture wound. They had put a plug in it because obviously it's in a main vein artery. And they needed to cap it off, basically. So he needed to pull that out. So early that morning, he came in and pulled it out, and that was the scariest thing in the world, because I thought when he pulled that out, it's gonna be nothing but blood, just shooting out. Luckily, it wasn't. And so yeah. Anyway, so we get moved down. Everything's good, and the doctor who did the procedure came in. He goes, "Man, you look a lot better. Everything looks good. You don't have any pain. You don't have," I said, "other than my leg and my incision, I'm pretty good." And he said, "Okay, well, the occupational therapist and the physical therapist are going to come in and they're going to talk to you." Okay, cool. They're like, "I need you to walk." I said, "All right, you got it." So I sucked it up, dude. I sucked it up, and I was like, "I'm getting out of here today." And I walked, unavailed. I just freaking walked. It hurt. I'm not going to lie, it hurt. But I did it. And they were like, oh, you're doing really good. Yeah, no, you don't need me. I'm like, okay, cool. Well then, the doc comes back and he's like, I know you want to go home. I'm like, absolutely. He goes, I'm going to put transfer for you to go home. And I was like, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. I gotta go. I gotta see my babies. You know, that sort of thing going through your head. So I was home by 6 o'clock that Friday night. Yeah. Miracle, probably, more than likely. But at the same time, yeah, it was a crazy ride. It was a crazy ride, bro. So that's why I didn't go to the Bastards Ball. And then, so this week would have been the week that we went to Santa Fe. Well, guess what? Had I only had the testicle removal, I would have been healed up enough to go to Santa Fe. It would have kind of sucked in the car, you know, and walking around would have kind of sucked too, but I would have been okay. But since this happened, obviously that wasn't the case. The bad thing is, like, the B&B wouldn't refund our money. Long story. It's not a big deal. It doesn't matter, right? I'm alive. So it doesn't matter. So we got to hang out at the house all week. The kids were home because they didn't have school. So it was fun just hanging out. Now, there was a couple of days where I was in some pain and, like, wasn't really feeling it. And that's cool. You know, it happens. You get those days that are bad. But yesterday, which was Friday, the 13th. Nope, wrong one. Yeah. Anyway, we went to this little Italian ice place in town. I was like, babe, I gotta get out of the house. I've been sitting at the house for a week, not by myself, but, you know, we've been sitting at the house for a week. I gotta get out. And today, actually, later on tonight, I'm going to a party for a builder that I work for, a good friend that I work for, and I'm actually going to be pouring some whiskey for people. So yeah, no, it's going to be super fun. It's going to be like kind of get my mind off of all of the stuff that has happened. So let me stop right there. I forgot to even say this. So in the hospital, the doctor who was going to do the procedure kept asking, what is the results from pathology? Right? We hadn't even talked about that. That's the whole thing. Like, everything got put on hold. So he's like, what's the results from the pathology? And we're like, we never got them. We were supposed to get them Wednesday, but we ended up showing up here on Tuesday. So we never went to the appointment. And he goes, oh, okay. I said, I'm sure they have them. I don't personally know, and I don't have them. So here's the good news, bad news. Good news is, okay, bad news. Bad news first. Bad news is it was cancerous. The testicle was cancerous, which that sucks. We got it out. Everything's good there. The other thing was when that goes, it travels to the lymph node right next to it. Not next to it, but like in your chest cavity, your lower abdomen, in the back behind, like your guts. There's lymph nodes. And there's like 3 or 4 lymph nodes that are enlarged. They don't know the staging of it. You know, they have a stage, like your stage 4 cancer, your stage 3. They don't know that because they have to have the post-op blood work, which I still to this day haven't done. Hopefully that'll be early next week. But it's so they're like, yeah, there's still some stuff in there, but it's nowhere near what it was. And so as of right now, if the staging stays, which we know it won't because the testicle was angry and infected with cancer, so that made the levels of the blood work go super high, right? It was stage 3. Now, I don't know personally what that means. Obviously, it's higher than 1 and 2, so take that for what it is. I still, obviously, if you guys are prayers or of any kind, they're obviously still needed. We still have a little bit of a road to go down, but at the same time, I feel like most of it is behind us. I know that chemo or radiation are not great. They're not good for your body, and they can also break you down a little bit. But I'm a very strong man. Obviously, walking through the hospital with a pulmonary embolism, saying I don't want your damn wheelchair, that says a lot. And then me saying I don't want to be on morphine and I want to go home to my babies and stuff like that. That basically is saying that like strong will can get you through a lot of things. And this is not a call to action for anybody to be strong-willed. Like, listen to your body and listen to what it's telling you and do the things and do your due diligence with it. But anyway, so I don't know why it keeps the music keeps like doing that, but anyway, it doesn't matter. We're fixing to get off. We're going to talk about whiskey for a minute here in a second. So I'm home healing now. Saturday morning, right before I'm fixing to release this in like a freaking hour. Anyway, but I'm feeling better. Like my lungs, I feel great with. I can still barely walk. I mean, I can walk, but like I get really winded. My leg starts hurting. I'm surprised I've been able to sit in this chair for as long as I have. And I'm just trying to do a lot of healing. The issue is like work. Like, obviously, me being a man, and this is not being sexist or anything, I pride myself in my work and like how I work, and the I'm a go-getter. I'm one of those guys that busts his ass all day, and I don't know how that looks now. It's changed a lot. I've talked to my buddy who's been doing my little service calls and stuff for me while I'm out, about possibly joining forces with him or him buying me out and me working for him, or I don't know I don't know if I'm ever going to be 100. I mean, I want to be, and I'm going to do everything in my power to do the thing, but being 100% me before surgery, I don't know if that's a possibility even, right? Because I'm on blood thinners now. If I bonk my head or if I cut myself, you can bleed out, bro. Like, it's a big deal. Like, I'm not going to be a little baby and like walk around in freaking, bubble wrap or something like that. But at the same time, I have to be a lot more careful than I was. And if you've ever known a plumber, they're freaking busted, broken, bruised all the time anyway. So like, yeah, I mean, it's, and I don't want to get an infection from somebody's poo or something like that, get a cut on my hand, get an infection, and the next thing I'm septic or something like that. Anyway, these are things I probably should have worried about before, but now I'm like hypersensitive about it. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I'm just trying to live in that for a little bit and kind of see where that's taking me and where I'm going to go from there. But I can tell you guys right now, and I'm not joking at all, I'm going to continue this podcast for as long as I can. This is not going to stop unless I can't talk anymore. You know what I mean? I might miss a week, especially if we start doing, when we start doing chemo radiation. We don't know which one it is yet. I might be sick as a dog for a week or so. So don't lose faith. I'm here. And we're gonna we got some cool shit coming up, bro. The next week's podcast is freaking awesome. I've got a bunch of really cool guys in the works that I'm working on that I need to record. And then these personal ones, these are the ones that I personally like. I know this one wasn't about whiskey at all, and that's okay, because it needs to be said, and I need to say my truth. Is that what they say? But I'm really thankful, obviously, just to be alive at this point. And I hope you guys understand that. And I'm doing this podcast just to let everybody know kind of where I'm at and where it's going to go from the future or whatever from here on. All right. So last night, here's the whiskey part of it. Ready? So during all this, obviously, when you're sick as a dog and on medication and stuff like that, you don't need to be drinking whiskey. I'm sorry, you don't. Don't do it. The doc said, 1 day after surgery. That's what the doctor said. But I was like, I didn't even feel like it. And I know that's blasphemy, but I didn't even feel like a whiskey. Because I was like, man, I can't. So, Thursday of this week would have been 2 weeks from my original surgery, right? So 2 weeks healed from my original surgery. I know, it happened so fast, bro. It happened so fast. Anyway, so last night I found it only fitting. I opened up a bottle of Cole Keegan, which is Santa Fe Spirits, right? I was supposed to be in Santa Fe yesterday, or driving home from, and I opened up a bottle of their cast strength Cole Keegan, and I found it only fitting. I had two drinks of that, and it was amazing. It was a good, super good whiskey. I'm going to do a deep dive on it, hopefully Sunday. And yeah, I mean, it's just not, it's nice to be back with it. Now, here's the thing. I need to watch. As you probably already know, I've watched my whiskey intake to begin with, because, you know, if you have family issues with alcohol, you need to watch yourself. And I've always strived to be the guy who doesn't overdo it. But I have a couple drinks. I'm not going to lie. I have a couple drinks a week or whatever. I'm not denouncing that. But I'm going to have to watch it a little bit more. Because, you know, being on treatments and stuff like that, I don't know if I'm going to be able to drink as much or whatever like that. But to me, it was such like a, for one, getting back to normality. You know, it's Friday night. We're watching a show. I'm having a drink. It's nice. It's nice. And my wife was for it. She wasn't against it. She was like, babe, you need one. Just to, not to knock the edge off, because I hate it when people say, I need a whiskey to knock the edge off. No, it's not for that. Like, I enjoy the whiskey. And luckily, and this is not medical advice, luckily, whiskey is a blood thinner. Yeah, it is. So it actually helps with the blood thinning process. Also, I was talking to some people, well, from the Last American podcast. I was talking to them, and they were like, well, yeah, so all you got to do is drink like 3 bottles of whiskey, and it'll cure your blood clot. And I said, yeah, it'll cure my blood clot, and then I'll get liver disease. Great, let's do that. So, no, and I really appreciate all the support and all the help and all the prayers of the people who already knew about all this. I really appreciate all that, because like, it means a lot. The prayers especially. I can feel them. When I was in the dark spot, I could feel them. So I appreciate it. Keep them coming, because we're still not done. we got a little bit to go still, and I'm hoping to make a 100% recovery. We'll see what happens. It's in the Lord's hands at this point, and always has been. Obviously, it's not by my doing for any of this. Anyway, okay. I say all that to say this: whiskey is happening around you. But whiskey isn't the only thing. Okay. Have fun with it. Stay safe. And one of the big things, and I know this sounds stupid, check your nuts. I'm being dead serious. Don't be playing with yourself. There's a difference between playing with yourself and checking your nuts. But check them, dude. Because here's the deal. Mine came up out of nowhere. I don't check them. I'm not going to lie. I don't check them. I wash them in the shower. I know this is getting graphic, and I'm sorry, but this is real life. Check your nuts, bro. And for the females out there that are listening, check yourself too, because you never know. So I'm going to try to reach out to the Testicular Cancer Foundation, and we're going to try and do something in the near future. They're Manscaped. I don't know if you know who Manscaped is, but they're sponsored. They're sponsored by them. Oh, speaking of that, hold on. Before we go, I almost forgot this. I was too busy talking about myself. I'd like to thank the sponsor of this podcast. Yeah, Bad Motivator Barrels, badmotivatorbarrels.com. You go to Bad Motivator and you find you a barrel. I'm doing, from the time this airs, it'll be over by now. But I just did a giveaway of a free Badmo barrel. It will end at 5:00 today. So if you want to get in there, you can still get in there. It's on my Instagram, my Facebook, and my YouTube. You go in there, you comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff, and then you click the link. There's a link below to get on the mailing list for Bad Motivator Barrel. But that ends at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time today. So there's not much time. Anyway, I'm giving away a barrel. It's a previously used bourbon barrel. You'll know the name of the distillery it was from on the front of it. It's one of the only ones that has the actual name of the distillery on the front of it. I'm giving away one of those today. Anyway, you by now you guys know Bad Mo. You know I love them. Christopher's taking over with the legacy part of it. They've got a bunch of barrels ready to ship. They've doubled down on production and they're ready to ship. So if you have ever thought about having a barrel, doing something with it, adding, getting some crappy whiskey, putting it in there and seeing if you can make it better, anything, going to a distillery, grabbing some of their new make, throwing it in there, making your own whiskey, whatever. If you're a hobbyist, if you're whatever, if you like to make wine, beer, cider, putting it in there and oak aging it, come on guys. You guys know by now. If you don't, if you don't know, now you know. Anyway, so go to badmotivatorbarrels.com and use the coupon code SHAMAN5. I'll give you 5% off that barrel. Go do it right now. I see you guys have been clicking and going and doing, and I appreciate that so much. So again, go to badmotivatorbarrels.com and at the checkout, put SHAMAN5, and it'll give you 5% off that barrel. All right, and I love Bad Mo and thank them for supporting me. Anyway, especially during this time. So where do we go from here? We're going to continue making killer content. I know this might have been not have been the killer content that you want, but it's the killer content that I needed to put out today. I think everybody needs to know about this. I think this is a thing that happens in the world that people don't talk about. Testicular cancer is a thing. And one other thing that kind of pissed me off with this whole situation, testicular cancer in itself is known to create blood clots. Yeah. So, and this is no shame, no throwing shade to anybody, the urologist, to anybody. But I feel like they should have known that there could have potentially been a blood clot from the testicular cancer. And they should have done some sort of screening for that before they even did the surgery. And that didn't happen. Could this have been prevented? Probably. But if, let's say, they did the screening and they found blood clots, they would want to put me on blood thinners. Well, you can't have surgery when you're on blood thinners, right? So then they would have to dissolve the blood clots and then go in and do the surgery. That could be 6 months or a year later. How far would the cancer have spread in a year? Right? So it's almost like it happened the way it was supposed to happen, but normally it doesn't happen to where you almost die. Right? So normally that doesn't happen. So anyway, just get checked out, and if you're feeling like it, go get checked out and do preventative maintenance as well. All right, guys, the next episode is going to be amazing. This one, was what it was, and I'm sorry to have some graphic content in it or whatever, but these are the things that we need to talk about sometimes, and there might be more in the future. I'm sorry, but this is also a journey of my life, and I feel like it's things that people need to know. And that's kind of why I've been out on the socials and stuff like that, because I physically could not get on there. So anyway, but I'm back and I'm trying and we're working on it and I'm getting stronger every day. And I love y'all so much. And y'all are the ones keeping me going. Yeah. So in conclusion, check your nuts. That's it. Check your nuts. Don't let the cancer get involved. And those of you who've had cancer, please reach out to me. Let's talk about it. I feel like having a brother group of people who have had this, not just testicular. If you've had any sort of cancers, I know my buddy Gary B. He's a Psalm out of Canada. We don't hold him against him. He's going through some cancer. My buddy Patrick Cohn going through some cancer. Dude, sucks, but we gotta stick together. So, all right, this is where I'm gonna leave it. And I promise next time we're talking about whiskey stuff. But anyway, but yeah, if y'all want to know anything, if y'all want to know about new bottles coming out or anything like that, just hit me up and let me know, and we'll go from there. I'm trying to get trying to get new and different content out there for y'all, so just please hit me up and let me know if you want to learn about anything. I'm going to have a malt grower on real soon, and we're going to talk about the process of making malt and malting grain and stuff like that, so I think that'll be really cool. But yeah, I just appreciate all the support and all the love, and again, I thank Bad Mo for sponsoring, and I'm looking at another sponsor, which is kind of a different type of sponsor, so we're growing and showing, and it's only because of y'all, so I appreciate everything. But I guess that's where we'll leave it. I don't think I have anything else. And once I go to the oncologist and get all my treatment regimen, I'll let y'all know as soon as possible. For the ones who care, for the ones who don't, just skip past it. It's fine. But until next time, y'all keep your spirits up. Love y'all.